Hi, today we'll go through the installation process for Blue Mountain gutter mesh on a flat roof. Today we'll be on the bitumen shingles, but using the screw-free products and the screw-free flat profiles. It's a similar installation process for flat roofs like Slate, for example, as well. So the first step of the process is just to prepare the roof. Now, for example, if this was a slate roof, probably a little bit simpler, you'd just give it a bit of a wipe with some isopropyl just to make sure there's no grime on the surface and everything sticks really, really well. With the bitumen shingles like this, slightly different whether it's an existing roof that's been out there for years. You may still do this process. It's just less critical because it's been out there, all the loose stones have come off, it's lost the various coatings that are on it from production. So what we've found works really, really well is just to use a wire brush wheel on an electric drill. And you just need to know where the end of the mesh is going to come to. And we just buzz along and just wire brush, just gently. We don't go too hard, we don't gouge out all the bitumen and that sort of thing. We just go along the strip where our flat-free profile is going to stick. What I want to do on this roof is I want to install it so our screw-free flat profiles sit just below the edge of the bottom edge of that third row of shingles there. So I'm going to be chopping the mesh down to that level. So I know that edge is my guide for where everything's going to be sticking. So I'll go along with the wire wheel and just prepare that surface. Just use the wire wheel up on edge, spin it, not too fast, don't want super high RPM, just gently, and we'll just go along. So after we have that roof prepared, the next step is to get the screw-free clips onto the gutter, ready to then roll the mesh out and secure it to the gutter before we go securing it on the roof side. The screw-free clips simply clip onto the gutter. These little flexible arms just go to the inside and it clips on. We can use one of the trims as a guide. It has all these little cutout windows, and that's the spike just sticks up through that. So we'll use that just to get them at approximate spacings. They can still be adjusted on the gutter after just by sliding them along. Aim for every 5th slot. So we'll leave 4 vacant and then put a new clip at the 5th next one. So here what you may find is that the location where you want to clip the next clip actually corresponds to an internal gutter clip or an external, and it won't fit. So here's my 5th window, and it's just that gutter bracket's in the way. So what we'll do is just go 1 extra, and that'll give me some clear space to clip that. You could go 1 less as well, and that's up to you. All right, the next step is to roll the mesh out. So we'll put that onto the roof. We'll just align the end with the edge of the roof here, and we'll roll that along. Right, and then at the end of the roof, we'll just chop that mesh to length. Once the mesh is rolled out and cut to length, we'll just shuffle that down so it actually sits on top of the clips, so up on this surface here. So once the mesh is positioned there on top of the plastic clips, we can use the trims just to drop over the plastic clips. And then when we place the next trim on, you should find that there's sort of 5 to 10 millimeters of overlap with one trim on top of the other. And then this last one, obviously we've come to the end of the run, so we'll place that on and also just work out where to cut it to length. The easiest way to cut the trim is just to cut in from one edge into the corner and then turn that around and cut in from the other edge into the corner in the same spot. And then that's cut to length. So these are the little locking plates. They simply push over the top of the spikes, and they're like a zip tie. So you'll just put that on and it'll just ratchet down into position. And then, so it'll ratchet down, it'll feel tight, but then you give it an extra little push and you'll sort of feel or hear that extra little clip, and that's what really wrenches it down nice and tight on the mesh. So we'll go along and put all these on. You'll work out your own process. So we're putting 2mm steel mesh on here, being 2mm aperture, same with the 2mm aluminium. We recommend putting a crease along the mesh here just to act as a bit of a water break. With the smaller aperture mesh, water can, sort of the surface tension of the water can mean it can sheet off and come off the edge of the gutter there. But just a small crease there can act as the water break. So we'll go along and keep putting this crease in here. Right, so we have the mesh on there, secured to the gutter. We have the crease in for 2mm. The next step is to, we'll cut that mesh down to length because part of this install, I basically want this screw-free flat profile to sit just under that bottom edge of the shingles. So I'll just explain how these work. On the back of them, we have the 3M VHB tape. And the idea is that sticks to the roof, and then the rest of the profile overlaps the mesh. And then into these holes, we then inject the adhesive, and that goes in and around the mesh and glues it to the roof. I need to trim it down basically to this notch on the profile there, so that it leaves a strip of bare roof for the tape to stick to, and then the rest of the profile overlaps the mesh so we can see the mesh through that little glue hole. Right, so we've got our cut started. Now I'll just continue that all the way along, and we'll sort of follow that row of apertures to help keep it straight. So once we have that mesh trimmed down to the right width, we'll put the screw-free flat profiles on. You'll see at one end of the 3M tape there's a little tab that makes it easy to remove that backing. So we'll just take that off. And then just remember to basically line up those notches, or the notch at each end, with the edge of the mesh, so then the tape itself is sticking directly to the roof and not to the mesh. So I'll just position that, go along and give that a good push down. And they just butt up end to end, there's no overlapping or anything. Again, we can just use tin snips to cut through the profile and the tape and everything. Right, so then we go along and we squeeze in some adhesive sealant into each of the little glue ports on that profile. Important to, well, firstly, use a drip-free type of caulking gun. As you release the trigger, it releases pressure on the tube, meaning it doesn't keep oozing adhesive out the tip. So don't cut it back too far. You want the diameter of that tip to be small enough to actually fit through the hole and actually go down so that the tip of that would be pressing down on the mesh itself. It means it's squeezing the glue in and under the mesh and really sticking it to the roof nicely. So what we do then is just go along and we'll just squeeze some glue into each one, just remembering to go into the hole, give it a good few squeezes. Now, what you sort of want to see is maybe just a little bit of that glue just coming out from underneath the profile there, and you know that you've got enough in there. But really, with most caulking guns, we've found that just 2, possibly 3 good squeezes gets a good amount in there. So we have everything stuck down, so that glue will just cure over the next day or two while the tape's sort of holding it down. Just to finish the job off, we can go through and cut off the spikes that are sticking up. Once you've trimmed all the spikes off the clips, you've finished the installation. This is the finished result when you use the Blue Mountain gutter mesh screw-free system to install mesh on a flat roof like shingles.